Obviously, these are private sector companies, but these are private sector companies who got very substantial help from the U.S.
Yes,
taxpayer.
they sure did.
And it defies reason.
Yes.
That people who brought us to the brink, not necessarily Goldman Sachs, but the industry that brought us to the brink of a Great Depression would, less than a year later,
be given
just
up
about,
bonuses. They're all doing it.
I understand that.
But $100 million for this one character is
unbelievable. Unbelievable is the only word to describe it.
Tell me, I was all for that the Financial Advisory Committee that you wanted to put up. Commission that all the Republicans who were for it are suddenly against it. Do you think you can get that through anyway? It won't have the same power, but can you get it through? Don't you think we need it?
Yes. I spent time with the president, with Joe Biden, with Kent Conrad, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee in the Senate. And very frankly, John, I don't know whether you recall this, but I was the only leader of either party that went and testified before the Budget Committee in the United States Senate, went over to the United States and testified on behalf of the commission to look at how we get our finances back on an even keel, get us back to balance. During the last 4 years of the Clinton administration, we had budget surpluses for 4 years. The last president to have balanced budget after his term was Andrew Jackson.
Wow.
That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
We had Clinton had a $62.9 billion net surplus after 8 years.
Yeah.
Brought a deficit that he inherited down and then created surpluses.
And then George W. Bush came in and reversed it.
And he cut taxes and increased spending.
Isn't it ironic, though, that these Republicans have forgotten 8 years of Bush? It's all Obama's fault. The poor guy's been in for a year.
You know,
Bush did it.
If you look at the Ronald Reagan speeches of 1984, 4 years after he came into office and after his economic program was adopted, Ronald Reagan was still blaming the failure to have as much progress as he wanted on Carter. So it is ironic that the Republicans are now saying, well, Obama came into office. Yes, and he inherited the worst economy we've had in three-quarters of a century from the Bush policies, which were unchanged for 8 years. You know, some Republicans tell me, well, you guys were elected in 06 and took over in 07. I said, yes, that's true. But we didn't change any of the economic policies because Bush either vetoed or threatened to veto any changes to his policy. It was a failed policy. Jobs were tanking. The economy was tanking. He lost 1.8 million jobs in the last, 3.8 million jobs in the last year he was in office.
Oh, that's quite a record.
Yeah. Now that's opposed, just to make the comparison, during the last year of the Clinton administration, which was a slowing down year, 1.8 million jobs created. That's a $5.6 million jobs turnaround. There's no wonder why people were hurting.
Are you optimistic, though, about the future?
I am optimistic. America is...
How long is it going to take?
Well, it's going to take some time. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. You've fallen this deep.
Yeah.
But we have seen, as I said, progress, appreciation in values in the stock market, increase in the GDP, growth, reduction in loss of jobs very substantially. But we need to get into plus, creating jobs. But that's going to take time.
Oh, it is. By the way, I forgot to do something, if you'll indulge me. My co-producer, Bert Oliver, is sitting over there with the Congressman's staff members, and I think they're supposed to get their picture taken. Yep. There you go.
Well, there they are.
There they are.
Bert Oliver, by the way, is the one on the right, right?
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
And that's Stephanie Lundberg, who's my press secretary, and Betsy Bossert, who's my district director, who's been with me a long time, does a wonderful job. She's in Bowie even more than I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. She did a wonderful job on my wife's renewal of her green card.
Right.
Oh, that was a nightmare.
I remember that. We had an opportunity to discuss that.
Jeez.
Betsy and Stephanie do a wonderful job.
They do.
Not just for me, but for the people of the 5th Congressional District.
Stephanie can get a little snotty once in a while.
That probably is in response to your getting a little snotty from one time.
Well, we'll switch off of that. Another question, it's all boiling around economics. I am totally befuddled by the health plan. What is there? What is going to happen eventually? Do you have any idea?
Well,
I mean, I'm concerned.
First of all,
on Medicare.
First of all, let me say that everybody ought to remember that we've been talking about reforming health care for a century.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt was one of the first presidents said, look, we need to have a health care plan in America that covers all Americans, make sure they can have security of knowing that if they get sick, they're covered. Every president, almost without exception, not everyone, but certainly Richard Nixon was one, Ford was one.
Mrs. Clinton.
Mrs. Clinton, certainly. Republicans and Democrats have talked about the need to make sure everybody's covered. This president, John McCain, both talked about the necessity for health care reform, and almost every candidate running for president last year talked about it. So when this president took over, obviously he had said, we need to effect a health care program that gives security that every American has access to affordable, quality health care. Okay, so we started to work. We've been working. One of the things that almost everybody agrees with, the way you bring costs of insurance down is to spread the coverage and numbers of people involved. Because the more people you have involved, the less losses you're going to have per person, and therefore the less expensive per person insurance will be. That's true of automobile insurance, property insurance, any other insurance.
There are a lot of canards being distributed. I'd just like to read something to you which people should be upset about. This is a column by Andrew Stephen, who lives in Washington, by the way. The problem is that Americans whose appalling medical care rates 37th globally. 37th! And I hate to say it, you know how Americans like the French, but that's number one. And these stories that they circulate, the Republicans circulate to scare people, you know, the elderly going, we can't take care of you. Well, they were accusing the British National Health Service of that. Right. I lived under the British National Health Service. My son was born under it, and we will be under it again in a few years. It's a lie.
Absolutely. If you can't beat something on the merits, lie about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And tell that lie long enough and repeatedly so that people get doubts.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily understand it. For instance, we're going to adversely affect Medicare. Untrue.
Untrue. Totally.
Medicare will not be touched. Yeah. People who have insurance, they like their insurance, they're going to keep their insurance as they have it now. I've gotten letters about TRICARE, which is for military, going to be untouched. They talked about these death panels.
Oh, heavens.
Just phony.
It's obscene. Fraud. That's the teabaggers.
Absolutely. You know, people who did not want to deal with substance. What does this bill do? First of all, accept an exchange. An exchange for whom? Private sector insurers.
Yep.
Not government, private sector insurers. Just like, and we have a lot of federal employees who are watching this, just like the Federal Employee Health Benefit Plan, where OPM, in effect, organizes and monitors a market, just like the stock market, but this is for healthcare, where people can choose from private sector alternatives. And it'll be transparent so they can compare, see which is the better buy, which is giving them the coverage they need. Sets up an exchange, and then it tells people, you got to have insurance. Well, just like automobile insurance.
There are 40 million people out there without insurance, medical insurance.
But you know who's paying for it? Those of us who have insurance.
Yeah.
On average, the people out there who have insurance, and me and you, pay an extra $1,100 per year because of the uninsured or uncompensated care. They go to the hospital or they need the doctors, but they don't have any insurance.
Yeah.
What happens? Your prices and my prices are up.
Oh, I noticed
As a result,
that recently.
we pay a higher premium.
Huge.
So that we really do need, in order to bring the price of health care down and the quality up, which is what you're talking about, quality, because we have the best health care available in the world right here in the United States.
Oh, that's true. But people aren't getting it.
But they can't access it.
Exactly.
So this plan provides for access, and there's some people who won't be able to afford it. So yes, we're going to help them. And it will be cheaper in the end than doing what we do now, and that is treating them at an emergency room.
Yeah.